The biggest wins in your life started as something so small you almost missed it. That decision you made on a random Tuesday. That conversation you had with yourself at 3 in the morning. Big things start small. But here's the part that messes people up. They think small means insignificant. They think small means it doesn't matter. So they wait. They wait for the big moment, the big opportunity, the big break. And while they're waiting for the universe to hand them something massive, they're ignoring the tiny decision right in front of them that could change everything. You want to know what big things look like at the beginning? They look boring. They look unremarkable. They look like nothing special is happening. That's why most people miss them. They're searching for fireworks when they should be looking for the spark. Think about it. Every single thing that exists in your life right now started somewhere small. Your closest friendship started with a hello. Your skills started with sucking at something and doing it anyway. Your confidence started with one moment where you didn't back down. Everything traces back to a beginning that didn't feel like much at the time. But you already know this. You've lived it. The question is, why do you keep forgetting it when it matters most? Why do you dismiss the small steps when you're standing at the bottom of your own mountain? You look up at where you want to be and the distance feels impossible, so you don't start. You convince yourself that unless you can take giant leaps, there's no point in moving at all. That's the trap. That's what keeps you stuck. You're waiting for conditions that don't exist. You're waiting to feel ready. You're waiting for certainty. You're waiting for someone to tell you it's going to work out. And while you wait, days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. And you're still standing in the same spot, telling yourself the same story about why now isn't the right time. Here's what nobody wants to hear. The right time is whatever time you decide to start. That's it. There's no magical alignment of circumstances coming to save you. There's no perfect moment when all your doubts disappear and the path becomes clear. You start scared. You start uncertain. You start with no idea if it's going to work. And you do it anyway because doing something small is better than doing nothing at all. You think the people you admire started with some master plan. You think they had it all figured out before they took the first step. They didn't. They were just as confused as you are. The difference is they moved anyway. They took the small action even when it felt pointless. They showed up even when nobody was watching. They put in the work even when the results weren't showing up yet. That's the secret nobody talks about. Consistency with small things creates momentum, and momentum is what carries you through the hard parts. You don't need to be motivated every single day. You need to be committed to the process, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. You need to understand that progress isn't always visible, but it's always happening when you keep showing up. Think about learning anything new. The first time you try, you're terrible. You feel awkward. You feel stupid. You want to quit because your brain is screaming at you that you're not built for this. But if you push through that discomfort and try again tomorrow, something shifts. You're still not good, but you're less terrible. And if you keep going, one day you look up and realize you're actually decent at this thing that used to feel impossible. That transformation didn't happen because of one big effort. It happened because of 100 small efforts you barely remember. It happened because you chose to show up when it was hard. It happened because you didn't let the gap between where you were and where you wanted to be paralyze you into inaction. Here's what you need to understand about big things, starting small. The beginning is supposed to feel insignificant. It's supposed to feel like it's not enough. That feeling is not a sign you're doing it wrong. That feeling is proof you're at the starting line. And the starting line never feels impressive. It's just the point where you stop thinking about it and start doing it. You want to write a book? Write 1 page. You want to get in shape? Do 10 push-ups. You want to change your career? Update your resume. You want to build a business? Make 1 phone call. You want to fix a relationship? Send 1 text. These actions feel too small to matter, but that's exactly why they work. They're small enough that you can't talk yourself out of them. They're small enough that fear doesn't have time to stop you. And once you do the small thing, something interesting happens. The next small thing becomes easier, not because the task changed, but because you changed. You proved to yourself that you can follow through. You built evidence that you're the kind of person who takes action, and that evidence compounds. It stacks up. It becomes your identity. People don't fail because they can't do big things. They fail because they won't do small things. They want the result without the process. They want the destination without the journey. They want to skip to the part where it feels good and avoid the part where it feels hard. But life doesn't work that way. You don't get to bypass the beginning just because it's uncomfortable. You know what's wild? The small things you're avoiding right now are probably the exact things that would unlock everything else. That difficult conversation you keep putting off, that habit you know you need to build, that fear you need to face. These aren't obstacles in your way. These are the way. The path forward goes straight through the things you're trying to avoid. And I get it. Small things don't feel exciting. They don't give you the immediate dopamine hit of something dramatic. There's no rush in doing one more rep or writing one more paragraph or making one more attempt. It feels mundane. It feels ordinary. But ordinary actions repeated over time create extraordinary results. That's not a cliche. That's math. Every person you look at and think they have it all figured out went through the same boring process you're avoiding. They just didn't let the boring part stop them. They understood that boring is part of the deal. Boring is where the transformation happens. Boring is where you build the foundation that everything else sits on. You can't build a skyscraper without spending months on the foundation. Nobody sees that part. Nobody celebrates that part. But without it, nothing else stands. Your life is the same way. The small daily choices you make when nobody's watching are the foundation. And if you keep skipping the foundation because it doesn't feel significant enough, you're always going to wonder why nothing you build lasts. Here's the shift you need to make. Stop measuring progress by how much distance you've covered. Start measuring it by whether you showed up today. Did you do the thing you said you would do? Did you take the small step even when you didn't feel like it? That's the only metric that matters at the beginning. Consistency beats intensity every single time. You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to be present. You're trying to show up for yourself in small ways that build trust between you and your future. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, you're telling your brain that you're serious about this. You're creating a pattern, and patterns become automatic. What feels like effort today becomes second nature tomorrow, but you have to start. And starting means accepting that the beginning won't feel like much. It won't feel like progress. It won't feel like you're doing enough. That discomfort is the price of admission. You pay it by showing up anyway. You pay it by trusting the process even when you can't see the results yet. Think about planting a seed. You put it in the ground. You water it. Nothing happens. You water it again. Still nothing. Days go by. Weeks go by. And on the surface, it looks like your effort is wasted. But underground, roots are forming. Systems are being built. And one day, without warning, something breaks through the soil. That's when people notice. That's when they say you got lucky or you're talented or you're special, but you know the truth. The breakthrough happened because you watered the seed when there was nothing to see. Your life works the same way. The work you're putting in right now might not show up tomorrow. It might not show up next week, but it's building something beneath the surface. It's creating the conditions for growth. And if you keep watering it, if you keep showing up, the breakthrough will come. Not because you're special, but because you refused to quit when it looked like nothing was happening. People quit right before the breakthrough. They put in weeks or months of effort, and when they don't see immediate results, they convince themselves it's not working. They stop right before the roots were about to break through. They abandoned the process right before it was about to pay off. Don't be that person. Don't let impatience rob you of the reward you've already earned through consistency. You need to rewire how you think about progress. Progress isn't always visible, but it's always happening if you're putting in the work. You're not going to see dramatic changes overnight. You're going to see tiny shifts that don't feel like much in the moment. But those tiny shifts add up. They compound. And 6 months from now, when you look back, you won't recognize the person you used to be. That's the power of small things done consistently. They don't just change your circumstances. They change you. They change how you see yourself. They change what you believe you're capable of. And when your identity shifts, everything else shifts with it. You stop being the person who talks about doing things, and you become the person who does things. That transformation doesn't happen in one big moment. It happens in 1,000 small moments where you chose action over comfort. Here's what you need to accept. The journey is long. The progress is slow. The work is repetitive. And that's exactly how it should be. If it was fast and easy, everyone would do it. The fact that it's hard is what makes it valuable. The fact that most people quit is what creates the opportunity for you to stand out. You don't need to be the most talented or the most gifted. You just need to be the most consistent. Stop looking for shortcuts. Stop searching for hacks. Stop hoping someone will hand you a blueprint that makes it easy. There is no easy. There's only the decision to show up every day and do the work even when you don't feel like it. That's the blueprint. That's the secret. And it's not sexy. It's not exciting. But it works. You want proof? Look at your own life. Think about the things you've actually accomplished, the skills you've built, the goals you've achieved. How did they happen? Did they happen overnight? Did they happen because of one massive effort? No. They happened because you showed up repeatedly over time. They happened because you did small things until those small things added up to something big. You already have evidence that this works. You've lived it. So why do you doubt it now? Why do you look at your current goals and think it's going to be different this time? It's not different. The process is the same. Small actions repeated consistently over time create big results. That's the formula. That's always been the formula. The only question is whether you're willing to trust it. And trusting it means letting go of the need for immediate validation. It means accepting that you might work for weeks without seeing any external proof that it's working. It means showing up even when your progress feels invisible. That's the test. That's where most people fail. They need constant feedback. They need constant reassurance. And when they don't get it, they quit. But you're not most people. At least you don't have to be. You can be the person who understands that feedback comes later. Feedback comes after you've built something worth noticing. Feedback comes after you've put in enough reps that the results become undeniable. Until then, you work in silence. You work without applause. You work for yourself and your future, not for the approval of people who aren't even paying attention yet. This is where mental toughness matters. This is where you find out what you're made of. Anyone can start when they're motivated. Anyone can put in effort when it feels good. But can you keep going when it feels pointless? Can you show up when nobody cares? Can you push through the middle part where nothing exciting is happening and it just feels like work? That's the real test. And here's the truth. The middle is where winners are made. The middle is where the people who are serious separate from the people who are just curious. The middle is boring. The middle is repetitive. The middle is where you question everything. And if you can survive the middle without quitting, you win. Because most people can't. Most people need constant excitement. They need constant progress. They need constant validation. And when they don't get it, they move on to the next thing. You can't afford to be like that. You can't afford to chase the feeling of starting something new every time the current thing gets hard. That pattern keeps you stuck. That pattern keeps you at the beginning of 100 different things instead of at the finish line of one thing. And you know this. You've seen it in your own life. How many things have you started and abandoned because they stopped feeling exciting? Break that pattern. Commit to seeing something through even when it's boring. Commit to finishing what you start even when nobody's watching. Commit to the process even when the results aren't showing up yet. That commitment is what separates the people who achieve their goals from the people who just talk about them. Big things start small, but they only become big if you stick with them. If you quit every time it gets hard or boring or uncomfortable, you'll never see what you're capable of. You'll always wonder what could have been if you just kept going. Don't live with that regret. Don't look back 5 years from now and realize you could have had everything you wanted if you just didn't quit when it got tough. The work you're avoiding is the work that matters most. The small step you're dismissing as insignificant is probably the exact step you need to take right now. Stop waiting for it to feel right. Stop waiting for it to feel big enough. Just take the step. Do the small thing. Show up today, and then show up again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. You're not building Rome in a day. You're laying one brick at a time. And if you lay enough bricks, eventually you have something worth looking at. But you have to lay the bricks. You have to do the boring work. You have to show up when it's hard. That's the price. That's what it costs to build something that lasts. And yes, it's going to take longer than you want. Yes, it's going to be harder than you think. Yes, there will be days when you feel like you're not making progress. But those days don't mean you're failing. Those days mean you're in the middle, and the middle is where the transformation happens. The middle is where you build the strength to finish. The middle is where you become the person who's capable of achieving the goal you set. So stop focusing on how far you have to go. Start focusing on what you can do today, right now, this moment. What's the smallest action you can take that moves you forward? Take it. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for it to feel perfect. Just take the action and worry about the next step tomorrow. Big things start small, but small things become big when you refuse to quit, when you keep showing up, when you trust the process even when you can't see the results. That's how you win. That's how you build the life you want. One small decision at a time, one small action at a time, one small day at a time. And before you know it, those small things have added up to something massive, something you built, something nobody can take from you, because you earned it the hard way. You earned it by doing the work when it didn't feel like much. You earned it by believing in yourself when nobody else did. You earned it by starting small and refusing to stop. Let me tell you something else about small beginnings. They humble you, and that humbling is necessary. Because when you start small, you can't hide behind excuses. You can't blame the economy or your circumstances or the people around you. A small beginning strips away all the noise and puts you face to face with the real question. Are you willing to do what it takes or not? That's it. No room for stories. No room for justifications. Just you and the work. And most people can't handle that honesty. They need to believe that external forces are holding them back because it protects their ego. It's easier to say the world is rigged than to admit you haven't tried hard enough yet. It's easier to point at obstacles than to acknowledge you're standing still by choice. Small beginnings force you to confront that. They force you to take responsibility. And responsibility is uncomfortable, but it's also the only thing that gives you power. When you accept that your starting point doesn't determine your ending point, everything changes. When you accept that nobody's coming to save you and that's actually a good thing because it means you're in control, you stop waiting, you stop making excuses, you stop looking for permission. You just start, and starting is the hardest part. Not because it's complicated, but because it requires you to be honest about where you are and where you want to go. Here's what happens when you commit to small steps. You start noticing things. You start seeing opportunities you were blind to before. You start understanding patterns you missed when you were too busy looking for the shortcut. The small steps slow you down enough to actually learn. And learning is what makes the difference between someone who gets lucky once and someone who builds something sustainable. People think success is about the big break. It's not. It's about the 10,000 small decisions that put you in position to take advantage of the break when it comes. It's about showing up so consistently that when opportunity knocks, you're ready. You're not scrambling. You're not underprepared. You're not caught off guard. You've been preparing through small daily actions that nobody saw. And when your moment arrives, it looks like luck to everyone else. But you know it was the result of work they never witnessed. That's the gap between people who make it and people who don't. The people who make it understand that preparation happens in private. Growth happens in private. The transformation happens in the hours when nobody's watching and nobody's cheering. That's where you build yourself into someone capable of handling what you say you want. Because here's the thing. You might want success, but are you ready for it? Have you developed the discipline to sustain it? Have you built the habits that will support it? Or are you still the same person with the same patterns hoping for different results? Small beginnings give you time to become that person. They give you space to fail without catastrophic consequences. They let you experiment and adjust and learn what works. If you try to skip that phase, if you try to go from 0 to 100 without putting in the reps, you'll crash. You'll get what you want and not know how to keep it. Or worse, you'll get what you want and realize it's not what you actually needed because you never took the time to understand yourself. So don't rush it. Don't wish away the beginning. The beginning is where you're building the version of yourself that gets to enjoy the ending. The beginning is where you're developing the mindset that will carry you through the inevitable challenges. The beginning is where you're proving to yourself that you're serious. And that proof matters more than you realize. Every time you show up when it's hard, you're banking evidence. You're creating a track record that your brain can reference when things get tough later. And things will get tough later. There's no version of this where it's smooth sailing all the way through. There will be setbacks. There will be failures. There will be moments when you question everything. But if you've built a foundation of small, consistent actions, those moments won't break you. They'll test you. They'll challenge you. But they won't break you. Because you'll have proof that you can handle hard things. You'll have evidence that you've survived worse. You'll have a history of showing up that tells you this is just another obstacle, not the end of the road. That's what small beginnings really give you. They give you resilience. They give you grit. They give you the ability to weather storms because you've been training in the rain. You haven't been waiting for perfect conditions. You haven't been hiding until everything aligns. You've been out there doing the work in less than ideal circumstances. And that experience is priceless. That experience is what separates people who fold under pressure from people who thrive in it. Think about the people you respect, the ones who've actually built something meaningful. They didn't get there because everything went their way. They got there because they learned how to keep moving when things went wrong. They developed the ability to adapt. They built the mental strength to push through discomfort. And where did they build that? In the small moments, in the daily grind, in the repetitive work that nobody sees. You want that same strength, you build it the same way. Small actions, daily commitment, showing up when you don't feel like it. That's the gym for your mind. That's where you develop the muscle that carries you through the hard parts. And you can't skip that training. You can't fake it. You can't borrow it from someone else. You have to earn it through your own consistent effort. Here's what's beautiful about this process. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care where you came from. It doesn't care what advantages or disadvantages you have. The process works for everyone who commits to it. Small actions repeated over time create results. That's a law. That's not up for debate. The only variable is whether you're willing to trust it long enough to see it work. And most people aren't. Most people give up too early. They start strong. They're excited. They're motivated. They put in effort for a week or a month or maybe even 3 months. And when they don't see the dramatic transformation they were hoping for, they quit. They decide it's not working. They convince themselves they're the exception to the rule, but they're not. They just didn't stick around long enough to see the compound effect kick in. Because that's what happens with small, consistent actions. They compound. The first week feels like nothing. The first month feels like barely anything. But month 3 builds on month 2. Month 6 builds on month 5. And by month 12, you're not the same person who started. You've transformed. Not because of one big moment, but because of 365 small ones. That transformation is waiting for you. It's available to you right now, but you have to earn it. You have to show up. You have to do the work. You have to trust the process even when every part of you wants to quit. That's the cost, and it's non-negotiable. You either pay it or you don't. But if you don't, you need to stop wondering why your life isn't changing. You need to stop being surprised that you're in the same place you were last year, because nothing changes until you change. And you don't change through big dramatic gestures. You change through small daily choices that stack up over time. So what are you going to choose today? Are you going to take the small step, or are you going to keep waiting for the perfect moment that's never coming? Are you going to show up for yourself, or are you going to let another day pass without moving forward? These questions matter. Not because I'm asking them, but because you are. Deep down, you know what you need to do. You know what small action you've been avoiding. You know what first step you need to take. The only question is whether you're going to take it. Whether you're going to stop overthinking and start doing. Whether you're going to trust that small is enough as long as you keep going. Because it is enough. It's more than enough. Small is how everything big begins. Small is how you win. Small is how you build the life you keep saying you want.